Hello, Jenny. So excited to have you on Entrepreneur School show today.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm pumped that we just met in a group where we are intentionally there together to collaborate with each other. So you and I have a few things coming up.
Hmm.
So we had this conversation about like what you do and how you are focusing on supporting moms and you as a
Hmm.
mom, as an entrepreneur, which I was like, let's have this conversation because we can never get too many perspectives on what it's like and how different people navigate all of the jobs that you do on a daily basis. So why don't you start with like telling us about what your business job is and what that happens like?
Yeah. So I have been in business since 2016. I first started kind of like marketing, social media management, that kind of thing. That was my bread and butter. And then eventually I knew at some point I wanted to have kids back then. And that was in 2016. And I was like, all right, like, let's make this business more streamlined so it can support kids. Cause I felt like social media management is like, it can be more streamlined, but I just felt like I was constantly like in people's DMs and there was no like way for me to really take a break. So I'm like, okay, what can I do that's like going to be more supportive of like when I have kids? So
Mm.
I started a podcast in 2018 and I found out how much I loved it. And then I kind of was like, wait, maybe I can like do this for people. And this seems more flexible than social media because it's like people can record in advance. They don't have to be recording by the seat of their pants
Mm.
every week. So I had someone come to me for like VA services because I was doing social media and VA. And they were like, hey, I also have a podcast. Like, is this something you know how to do? I'm like, well, I've only been managing my own show. So I'm not like quote unquote an expert, but like if you're willing to take a shot on me, like let's try it. And she was. So this was October of 2018. And then by 2019, I was like, all right, let's just kind of burn my business to the ground. And I went all in on like the podcast management side of things and found how much more flexible it was because I would get my clients to like record in advance and we could work, 2+ weeks ahead at all times. So that really helped with the flexibility aspect.
Mm.
And then when I got pregnant later that year, in October of 2019, it was actually perfect because I had already made that pivot and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I mean, it was still a cultural shock getting pregnant because I was like, okay, like I have 9 months to get this business, and it is a service-based business. So I was
Right.
like, what am I going to do about maternity leave? What am I going to do about all these different aspects of things? So I let myself freak out for like a week. And then I decided, okay, let's put on your big girl pants and, you have at this point you probably I had like 8.5 months to get things together. So I started planning out my maternity leave. I figured out who I needed to hire so that my clients would still be supported when I was out, because I wanted to take a maternity leave, right? So I wanted to take 3 months. And
I'm
I
smiling because I live in Canada. The magical, but
I
but
know.
it doesn't help when you're an entrepreneur, you don't get a maternity leave.
Right,
So you got to
right.
plan your own thing.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
happy to
Yeah.
have mine when I was working and got a whole year off.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So I wanted to plan like having at least 3 months. And, I didn't want to like be like, okay, clients, I can't support you for these 3 months. So I knew I had to bring on some people to help me.
Right.
So I was hiring people to help. And, it was originally just going to be for like a 3 or 4 month period. And then I would come back. But I enjoyed that so much, having that help, that I was like, when I came back from maternity leave, I was like, hey guys, do you want to like stay on? And they wanted to, and they were contractors, they weren't like employees or anything, so they could have left if they wanted to, but it was really nice to have that. And I realized like how much that support was necessary for me, because even after the 3 months, like you're still adjusting to motherhood, like
Oh.
you're not out of the woods. And then you get hit with that 4 month sleep regression, which I feel like I kind of forgot about, and now I'm about to experience again once I have my baby in November. um so I feel like after like that 3 month period, you kind of feel like you're like, okay, I'm kind of getting this, but then like you get hit with all these other milestones, like, oh, the 4 month sleep regression, oh, like they're going through a leap or whatever. So like I wasn't
Mhm.
completely out of the woods when it came to like not sleeping and learning how to take care of myself and
Yeah.
an
Like I,
infant at
I
the same
can't even
time.
imagine. And I have to give like kudos to every mother who has not had the opportunity to have a full year or more. Uh, official like Canadian style maternity
Yeah,
leave. Like my heart's always gone out to moms in other places who just don't have that same like social support that we
right.
have up here, fortunately. And because I was like barely getting off my couch at 3 months, I can't imagine running a business at the same time. So like, how did you get like muster up the energy? And I'm sure you're like telling yourself the same story in your head now because you're pregnant again and ready to go on another mat leave and being like, okay, how are we going to get through this? And plus a toddler.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, at the 3 month mark, I was actually excited to get back because like at that point, my son was like still like sleeping and taking a million naps a day. So I was getting bored. I was like, okay, like I'm tired, but I'm still kind of bored. Like I wasn't gonna take a nap every single nap because at the point I want to say he was taking still like 4 naps a day or something crazy, or even 3, probably 4 still. And I'm like, okay, like I'm not gonna take a nap every single time he naps because they're, I have other things I
It's
need
a
to do.
lot of naps.
Yeah. There was a lot of naps and like, they weren't like, it wasn't like a 20-minute nap, most of them were like an hour plus. I wasn't going to sleep 4 hours a day. That was like a little much for me. So I was getting bored at that point. I was already starting to like work on some stuff anyway, like internally. I wasn't like doing any client stuff, but I was like doing some internal stuff. So I was like, I already feel ready to get back. So like, let's do it. I started kind of pretty thankfully my mom was able to help me. Once I came back from maternity leave, my mom was able to watch my son twice a week. So Tuesdays and
Mm,
Thursday, she would watch him so that I could have calls because like, even when they are napping, it's not like they're 100% every single day going to nap from 12 to 3 or whatever the time frame is. Like sometimes they wake up early, sometimes they go to bed immediately.
right.
And I knew like that would stress me out if that was happening when I was trying to like be present on a discovery call or even a client call. Even with client calls, I mean, obviously they're more understanding because they are already working with you, but like I just didn't want that stress. So my mom would take him every Tuesday and Thursday. I would go drop him, or my husband would go drop him off, and then I'd pick him up around like 3-ish. So I had that full day to like do stuff, and then
Mm,
Monday, Wednesday, Friday he was home with me. So I was like, less, it was a nap time type situation, nap time hustle situation. And that was his whole first year of life because it was 2020. And he's born June of 2020 in the middle of
mm,
COVID. So his whole first year of life from June 20 to June 2021, he was home with me. And then I, started in daycare in 2021.
right.
But yeah, it was a lot especially once they start being mobile and stuff and crawling, it changes a lot of things too. Cause I felt like it was kind of manageable before then. And then once he hit like that 7-8 month mark when he's like crawling and, eventually walking, once he hit 12 months, I was like, okay, like this is a big change. Cause when they're not mobile, it's not as difficult. You can kind of just put them in a playpen. As long as you're, attending to them, they're
Right.
pretty.
So it's like this. Yeah. You're reminding me of like, it's been a while. My kids are 8 and 10 now. So I'm like having flashbacks
It's
as
like
you
you kind of
speak.
forget, like even
Yeah.
with my son being 3 now, I'm like, I feel like my brain just like forgot about all the newborn stuff. I'm like, oh
It's on
yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
I was
It's
visiting.
like tricking you to have more.
Totally. I was visiting my sister-in-law, just had a baby. We have a niece now, and she was only 5 weeks old when we were visiting, and she was just a very like newborny, like up all night, crying a
Hmm.
lot. And I was like, I don't remember any of this. And I think that's what you have to look forward to, is that eventually you won't remember any of that.
And you're like, I had two too. So it's like, it wasn't like you just had one and then conveniently forgot it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting. Like you're talking about how like at the beginning of the baby's life, right? They're like a little pile of mush and cuteness.
Right. Right. I
And
mean, it's hard because they're
but
not
you're
sleeping that
also a
well.
pile of mush. And you're like,
Yeah.
I can either like take advantage of this time when I actually know that I have the time freedom kind of more to myself and work. And then later when they're crawling and stuff, what's when you're actually more ready to work. So, oh, what a
Yeah,
juggling act, right?
it's definitely interesting. And I'm so thankful my mom was able to help me out those
Oh,
2 days a week because
that's
that
wonderful.
made such a difference because, that uninterrupted time, you literally feel like superwoman at the end of the day. You're like, wow, I got so much done. Whereas like the Monday,
Mm.
Wednesday, Friday for me, I was like, ooh, I was lucky to get some little tasks done here
Yeah.
and
So did
there.
you like have like, let's talk about this because I think you know, one of the things with figuring out your own entrepreneurship and motherhood journey is figuring out what kind of a schedule will work for you. So
Yeah.
did you just like that those like what did you try and do in terms of like hours per week?
Yeah, I mean, so for my son, I tried to get him on a schedule pretty quickly. Like, I know, like, I think I tried around 6 weeks is when I started like implementing like a schedule for him because I thrive in routine. I know
Mm.
kids thrive in routine. So I tried to get him on a schedule. And once he was on like a decent sleep, eat, play schedule, then I was like, okay, now let's get me on a schedule. I really like, it was really nice because I had my team still. So like when I did come back, I was like, hey guys, to my clients, I'm back, but like, not anything's really going to change because the team is doing the work. They've been doing the work. I'm back to talk strategy and do like that more in-depth stuff with them.
Mm.
So it was nice because I wasn't like jumping headfirst back into like the weekly podcast management tasks. I was just like, okay, let's like look at how your analytics are doing and like get that one-on-one support with the clients instead of like being in the weeds, like, oh, I need to write show notes. I need to start editing audio again. I need to start doing all this stuff. So that really helped. I feel like it would have been a much harder shift if I was coming back fully and like just being like, okay, bye team. Like now it's time for me to fully jump back in because I don't think I could have handled it. Because I think at that point we had at least like 6 or 7 weekly clients. So 6 or 7 weekly podcasts were going out.
Oh,
And
wow.
like doing that by yourself is a lot when you don't have a child, but like it seems almost not even possible when you do.
Yeah. So
Because,
I'm hearing an underlying theme here about like acknowledging the need for help. Like,
yeah,
and how
yeah.
did you wrap your head around that? Because I know we're also stubborn sometimes about doing that.
Oh gosh. I mean, I honestly am pretty good about asking for help when I need it. I know a lot of moms are terrible about it, but for me, I was like, it's not just about being, at home with my baby. I had my business, I had all the personal home task I need to take care of still. Cause, even though I do have a career, I'm still the primary caregiver as most moms are. So there wasn't just, oh, the business and the baby. It was also all the household tasks and making sure everyone had appointments. And I mean, not my husband. He's responsible for his own appointments. Like, I'm responsible for the dog and the kids and myself. It's like, you can book your own appointments. Sorry, dude. But so yeah, so I just kind of decided that, I was just gonna do that and, focus on that and not put too much pressure on myself. But I started outsourcing, like obviously business stuff, but then I started outsourcing some personal stuff. Like,
Mm.
once I felt comfortable enough, I started bringing, like, I have a housekeeper that comes at once every 2 weeks. So that helped. I mean, obviously she's not sitting there doing my dishes every day. I still am responsible for that and like the laundry and all that stuff, which is never ending, of course, when you have children. And yeah, so I'm still responsible for that day-to-day stuff, but like her coming and deep cleaning every other week has been a lifesaver because now I don't have to worry about like, oh, did I clean my shower? Oh, did I clean my toilet? Like just like things like
Mhm.
that, like those deep cleaning tasks, like it adds up whenever you don't have assistance.
Oh,
And then a lot of the time during like the infant stage, I don't do it anymore. We go to the grocery store now. But during that infant stage, during COVID too, like I think I probably would have done it with or without COVID, but definitely with COVID, we got groceries delivered to our house. So I would just order online every week and have them delivered every Monday morning, which is really, really helpful. Because I didn't want to like have to take my son in the grocery store, being a newborn and also in COVID it felt really stressful. And I already hate grocery shopping anyway. So I'm
yeah, I was
like,
gonna say like it's still like the bane of my existence.
yeah, I hate it. So I was like, might as well get it delivered. And then, we also started doing pickup too, eventually. Like once he got a little older, I was like, okay, let's like do pickup because, delivery, you still have to pay a fee for it to be delivered. Whereas pickup, you only have to pay the groceries. You don't have to pay for them to put it in your vehicle, basically. So then we started doing pickup because that was obviously slightly cheaper. And, I just had to load them in the car, which at that age isn't too hard. But yeah, so then I started doing it like pickup, and I still really love to do grocery pickup But most of the time we go in the store now just because my husband likes to like look at everything. And I'm like, okay, well, if we're all going, then we can all go. But I don't go to the grocery store by myself. Like if I need to get some from the grocery store, I'm just gonna do a Target order pickup, which I know in Canada, you guys don't have Target, right?
No.
Yeah,
I
you can
also
get,
forgot that it was a grocery store, but I have remembered that now for future when I go to the States, like on a trip, that's the best place to order from. But I was just
Mhm.
gonna say the only exception I make to going to the grocery store is if I go alone.
Oh
If
yeah. Yeah.
kids
See,
are
I
at
think that's okay.
home, then I will
Yeah.
go, and I like have been finding myself sitting in my car for like a half hour before entering the grocery
Going into the grocery.
store just
Yeah.
to be
No,
quiet.
that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. So like the only time I'll go is if it's my husband and my son, because I'm like, well, at least there's two of us, right? But I don't want to go alone with my child because
No,
it's
that sounds
just too
awful.
much, right? Yeah. And there's always something. So yeah, so I started doing like grocery pickup and Target order pickup, which I still do the Target order pickup pretty frequently, probably once a week for like additional snacks because they have pretty good snacks, honestly. And you can also get Starbucks too. They'll bring Starbucks to your car as well, which is really nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
that is a pro
that's
tip
pretty
for
new. I'm pretty
US
sure they
moms.
started, I know they started doing that like I want to say almost a year ago now, but I mean, I'll use it every single time because sometimes I pick up my groceries at 4 p.m. I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to drink coffee at 4 p.m. But like if I do something in the morning, I'm like, oh, this is nice. And then, I can get my son a cake pop or something and he likes that too. So it works out. But yeah, just like utilizing kind of an outsourcing, like personally and professionally, I think is
Yeah.
really, really crucial as a new mom. And like I said earlier, a lot of moms are afraid to do it for whatever reason. Whether it's like they think people are going to be like, oh, you can't handle it. So you feel like you have to ask for help. But it's like, no, it's a lot to run a business and be a mom. Like it's a lot to be a stay-at-home mom, even when you're only responsible for the baby and the household duties. But if you're doing that plus a business, being a work from home mom, it's like it's even more stuff that you have on your plate. And like for me, I'm managing a team too. So like not only managing my child's schedule and my dog's schedule, which is not that intense, but I mean, they have some things they need to do like grooming and stuff like that. But you're also managing your team too. Like I have 6 people on my team currently, maybe 7, at least 6. But so managing all of them and, it's a lot. So being able to ask for help and bring in help, whether personally or professionally. And it's just super simple. Like I said, even just doing the order pickup, it's free at most places. I know Target's free and my grocery store is free. I think most grocery stores have the free order pickup. So it's
Well,
like,
honestly, I think
why
it's
not?
worth the $3 that I have to
Even if they do have a fee, right? Yeah,
$5. Don't
exactly.
care. Yeah, it's
Exactly.
like
It's
to think
so
about
worth
your
it.
time. What you're saying here is really making me like just see the whole bigger picture of if you look at your job, quote unquote job, as all of these pieces instead of just the business stuff and then like all of the mom stuff and the
Mhm.
personal stuff and the dog grooming and the whatever else, like appointments. I hate making appointments.
Me too.
If you look at that all as one job and you tackle it all with like the same work ethic and
Mhm.
approach and organization, then it feels like everything will flow a lot smoother. Because often I actually feel like I look at work as work and then everything
Mhm.
else just almost becomes something I resent
Yeah.
instead of like admitting that I'm stepping into like that this is part of my role. I chose this. I want to do
Yeah.
this. I want to be a mom. I want to,
Yeah.
have dogs. I want to have all that stuff too. But like look at it the same way instead of separating it. And maybe that'll help too.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great tip because yeah, sometimes it can feel like really, really, really overwhelming when you're like looking at it in like little pockets, like, oh, this is the household stuff and this is the business stuff. This is the kids stuff. It seems worse that way. But even just like for me, I like to sit down every single like Friday morning and kind of take a look at like all the life admin stuff I have to do and kind of tackle that in like, a 30 to 45-minute period. So like if I know I have to like book my dogs for the groomers, I'll call the groomer. Or, if I know I need to make some kind of pediatrician appointment for my son or dentist appointment or whatever, I'll kind of do that. I mean, obviously a lot of time when you're going to the dentist, they're like, do you want to make your 6-month appointment? And you're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then you kind of forget that it comes up and you're like, oh crap, I like already have something on that day. But I try to like kind of sit down and do like that life admin stuff or like updating the family calendar and things like that to make sure it like reflects the current
Mm.
availability and stuff. And you know, things like
Yeah.
having a family calendar have been really helpful for me. It's been harder to get my husband on board because he's just, sometimes men can be a little
Yeah.
resistant to stuff like that, but it really helps me to have like all my son's days off school and, all of the dogs grooming appointments and vet appointments and pediatrician appointments and dentist appointments and like on top of my own stuff, like, I don't even feel like I do much for myself because it's not like I'm going to the doctor like super frequently like a child is, so but
Right.
yeah,
But you're
it
supposed to get
really
massages
yeah,
and
exactly,
get your
you need
hair
some kind of
done.
stuff. Yeah, you need
Yeah.
something. So I think having that like kind of built into my, and I put it on my business calendar too, so it shows like, I'm not available at this time, and I'm not trying, I try to book it during like the work week because my kid's in, he's in preschool, so I'm not going to try and book it like on a Saturday, when I could be spending time with my kids. And that's why I'm an entrepreneur in the first place. Like if I wanted to get my oil change on a Saturday, then, I would be a corporate job, right? Where that's your only option. So I think just trying to fit in everything can be hard, especially, when you have your first kid, because you're like, whoa, this is such a big life shift. You're like trying to manage your business and trying to manage having a kid and trying to manage all the things. It can be really challenging, but just know that it's like a season. It's not forever. If you're like
Mm.
feeling really stuck, you're at, I feel like for me, like at 3 months, I was like, okay, cool. I feel like I'm doing good. And like by the time I hit 4 months, I'm like, just kidding. There's this massive sleep regression. Like I got back into business and I'm excited about it, but I'm getting, frustrated because I'm tired, or my brain's just not fully like there yet. Like, you
Right.
have pregnancy brain, but then you have like groggy mom brain when you're not sleeping that well. So you want to be back to normal and you want to be performing to what you were before you had kids, but it takes a while to get there. I feel like it took me like at least a good 9 months to start truly feeling like myself after having the kid and I'm
Right.
about to be there again. So yeah.
And so like mentally, what do you tell yourself to help you get through that?
Honestly, like now that I've been through it, I know like it is just a season, but in the moment, it didn't feel like a season. You're like, I mean, you obviously know that your kid is not going to be waking up in the middle of the night until they're 18. You know that, like you're not, yeah, you know that consciously, but like in the moment, it feels like you're literally never going to sleep again, or you're never going to have like freedom again. You're always going to be like changing diapers or doing whatever. And like my son is now potty trained, which helps so much. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm about to start changing diapers again when I have this newborn, but like at least I'm not changing too. So you just kind of have to like just remember that it's a season, and like, you might have to give yourself some pep talks along the way. Like, okay, like I know right now is really hard. It feels hard. But you have to just acknowledge that it's not forever. You're not going to be changing diapers forever. You're not going to be waking up to someone crying in the middle of the night forever. And it all goes so quickly. So just try to savor it. I know that can be really hard because I know a lot of people struggle with like, postpartum depression or anxiety. I know I didn't have it diagnosed, but I can, looking back, I'm like, I definitely had some form of like postpartum anxiety because I was like freaking out and waking up and like looking at the monitor to make sure my son was still breathing and stuff,
Yeah.
which I know is very, very common. But yeah, I just think we just need to acknowledge it's a season. It's going to be okay. We will sleep again. Our brains will come back to normal, but we just need to give ourselves grace and not expect like to quote unquote bounce back, whether that's physically or mentally that quickly. Cause I know society is like, oh, when you're 3 months postpartum, you should basically be back to your normal weight. And like, I literally never went back to my normal weight. Like there's just no way.
Well, that's a whole other conversation. I'm like,
Yeah.
I haven't had a baby for 8 years and no, thank you.
Yeah, it's hard, but we just need to like give ourselves grace, because I feel like we have such a pressure to feel like we need to bounce back physically and mentally
Mm.
and just feel like ourselves again. But like, it's just, you don't always feel like yourself until like, I've seen some people say 12 months. For me, it was 9 months. I've heard a lot of people like average is about 9 months. And I feel like with social media too, it's such a highlight reel. Like you're seeing all these people post all the amazing, great moments. Like, oh, my kid is only 6 weeks and they're sleeping through the night with not out waking up. And you're like, well, why isn't my kid doing that? Because for me, my first child was not the best sleeper. Now he's great, knock on wood. But
Yeah.
but like we just see all these things from other parents posting, hey, my kid's doing this, or hey, like, oh, my kid's meeting all these crazy milestones like way early. And it's just like, it's just everyone's highlight reel. And we just kind of, it can be hard to block it out. But honestly, for your sanity, you try to block out as much of that as possible and just focus on your own self and your own child. And you'll be so much more happy that way, because otherwise you're just going to be stuck in that comparison trap and like, oh, my kid's not meeting these milestones, or, oh, my kid's not sleeping. And it's like, it's okay if your kid's not sleeping. Like, yeah, it's hard, but like, like
I
it's,
think, yeah, I
that's
think
not,
we just need to like give a shout out right now to ourselves and to every mother in this world, and especially the ones who are listening to this podcast, because we know that you either have a business or you're thinking about starting a business for the reasons of you want to be a present mom and
yeah,
have a life with your family and not take them like I was before I started my business to childcare for 11 and a half hours a day. Like this is a challenging journey, and
right,
you just need to acknowledge yourself every step of the way. And I want to
right.
acknowledge you, Jenny, like we're doing the most. So
Yeah,
managing the
yeah,
expectations for yourself, because you're the only one who is feeling guilty or feeling not enough. That's you.
yeah.
So I love the power of like acknowledging that you're feeling that way. You get to release it as well.
Yeah, yeah. And it's totally normal to feel that way, but like, don't hold on to it forever either, because then it just continues to build up and bubble up. And like another thing, like just going back to the outsourcing thing, like my son has been in school since he was 1. And like, for me, that was the best option. So it's like, he's not in school like from 6:30 to 6:30 like he would be if I was working a corporate job. He still go way less hours than most of the people who have their corporate jobs. So for me, like, like that's another thing too. Like if, a lot of people are like, oh, well, if you work from home, your kid should be home with you full time kind of thing. It's like,
Mm,
I would literally get nothing done if I didn't have any sort of help. So it's okay to have help with your kids too, even if you are a work from home mom, because literally, like, it's okay in the beginning because they're, like I said, we talked about earlier, they're sleeping a lot, but once they're
right.
moving around, it's like literally they're constantly getting into stuff. Like one time my son like literally got into our glass freaking Pyrex drawer and was like, could have been an absolute disaster. But like, it's just, you can't split your brain that well. And I feel like if you're trying to work from home and like do it really, really well, and you're not doing it just during like nap time or nighttime, I feel like you're just splitting yourself and your energy and your everything too thin, and
Yeah.
something's going to give, whether that's your work or your kids like learnings, or whatever. Something's going to have to like, something's going to take precedence over the other. It might
Mhm.
be, and it of course it's going to change every day. Like one day your kid might need you more, so you're going to kind of slack on work or whatever, and vice versa. But it's really hard to like manage both. Especially if you're trying to do it not just during like nap time when you have really small kids, because they are
Right.
a lot needier. Like my son is, he can be pretty self-sufficient, but definitely it still needs me to make his meals. He still needs me to get him snacks. He still needs, assistance with things. So I feel like if he was home with me 24/7, and he doesn't always nap every day. So it would just
Mm.
not work. It would just not work for me. So like, there's also no shame in having help with your children as well.
Well,
Even
we
though I
talk
feel like
about
people
that.
do.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot on this show too, like just picking the schedule that works for you, that makes you feel like the best version of yourself. Like, and
Right.
we know like this statistically, like studies have been done that prove that multitasking is actually not a thing that's possible. And I find like I think about all these roles in my life as different hats. And you can't wear
Mm-hmm.
two at once, right? So
Right.
you're either being a mom or you're working. And I use a different part of my brain for that. So to do like the in and out, and I've tried it as well, like even with my kids who are older, who can make themselves like a bowl of cereal or a grilled cheese
Mm-hmm.
sandwich or something simple like that. They still are in the back of my mind when I know they're in my house, and I'm
Yeah.
not able to access that same level of like strategic thinking that I might
Yeah.
need for certain projects or my own business, like planning or any of those things. So I am a huge advocate for childcare. And I just did an episode about this for like how my summer has been going. And I'm like, Didn't love the weeks where we didn't have camp. That was
Right.
really
Yeah.
challenging
And
as
that's
much as
okay. That's okay. Like we shouldn't feel guilty about that. We shouldn't be shamed for that. Like it's totally okay. And like I know when my son first started daycare, like the first 6 months, whew, that boy was sick more than he wasn't. And he was
yeah.
home with me all the time. And there was a point where I was like, why are we even paying for this? Like literally he's just sick 24/7 and we're having to pay regardless. And, like I just stuck it out because I was like, well, if I take him out now, then he's just going to get sick in kindergarten and then miss days where it actually like counts, right? Whereas in daycare, you're paying for it. So it's like you're not being penalized for it other than having to pay money. But yeah, so I stuck it out and now, knock on wood, he probably gets sick once or twice a year max versus like I swear it was every 2 weeks for a while and then it was every 3 weeks and then it was every month, which and
Mhm.
it wasn't just a day, it was like a week or like
Yeah.
3 days at least. So it felt like it was all the time. So it's like, like I've seen a lot of moms talk about that too. Like, oh, my kid's always sick when I'm in daycare or when they're in daycare. Is it worth it? And it's like, if you stick it out, it'll be, they're not going to get sick 24/7 for the rest of their life. That's another season, right? The daycare sick
Yes.
season. They're not going to be sick when they're like 16 every day,
Yeah. Oh,
So
that's such a good way to look at it in the seasons for sure. So why don't you let everybody know what you are working on right now and where everybody
yeah.
can find and connect with you.
Yeah. So I did mention like my primary business is like a podcast management agency, but because I didn't have enough on my plate. No, but since my team helps me with so much with our client stuff, I kind of had a little bit more time free up and I've been having it on my heart for a while to do something for moms and help moms get started in business and really just start thriving and in those pockets of time that they have with their children. So I branched out and I created this brand called Moms Make Money Collective, and right now we're in the middle of a bundle which is called the Moms Make Money Bundle, which you are in. So it's a free resource for people who are looking to start, grow, and scale their businesses. As a mom, there's parenting and motherhood type resources as well as business resources, and it's 100% free. You do not have to pay a single cent. Every person that contributed included the resource free of charge for this short time only, which is amazing. And I am so appreciative. But if you guys want to check out the bundle, it's momsmakemoneybundle.com. And yeah, just go check it out. It's, free just for this week. Once you sign in or opt in, you'll get access to all the gifts from everyone. You can pick and choose what you want to grab. You don't have to grab everything. If you want to, you can, but you don't have to grab everything because there's almost 50 resources in there. That would be kind of overwhelming. But once you have that free page, or once you've opted in, you get that link to the free gift page. You'll have access to kind of opt in to everyone's things over the course of a month. So I don't want to like make you feel like you have to look at everything immediately, but you just need to sign up to get that free gift page within this week period. So the 15th through 22nd, I believe. Yeah, 15th through the 22nd of August. So it'll be open that full week. And then, you'll still have access to everything for the next month but you just have to make sure you put your email address in during that, 15th through 22nd period.
Perfect. Well, I'll make sure that the link is in the show notes, and my gift contribution is the
Mm-hmm.
simplified content system, which is the tools and templates and everything that I used for creating consistent content for this show, for social media, for whatever kind of, for my emails, anywhere that I'm like putting stuff. This is my like Bible for organization. I access it like 700 times a day. So I want everyone to have this because I think it'll make your life so much easier. Thank you so much, Jenny, for being here. Where is the best place for people to come and connect with you?
Yeah, so my best place is going to be Instagram. I hang out there the most. I do have like sub Instagrams for my different brands, so it's like not so all in one, but my personal like Instagram, which is connected to both businesses, is just my name at jenny.suneson. So yeah, so that's where I'm at the most. And like I said, that goes to both sides of my business, the mom focus and then also if you want help with podcasting as well. So I'd love to connect with you guys. I love connecting with other moms. Like, I feel like that's such like especially moms in business. It's such a like niche community because like, a stay-at-home mom is going to have a much different experience than a mom with a business. So I just love connecting with other moms, and, I hope to see you guys opting in for this bundle because it's amazing. There's so many great resources in there for business moms. And also, like there's literally some 30 easy meals for your kids, things like that, which is super handy when you are working from home and you don't have a million years to prepare dinner every night, or you hate preparing dinner. I don't like cooking, so I need easy meals.
Oh, I'm going to get it just for that. Absolutely. Oh, thanks so much, Jenny. Everyone go grab that bundle while it is still alive.